Welcome to Circular Head, a rural community on the northwest coast of Tasmania. Renowned for a flourishing primary production sector, sporting facilities, Tarkine wilderness, scenic tourist towns and the cleanest air in the world.
Life was pretty breezy for me growing up on the northwest coast.
I've found this place to be a fantastic place to grow up.
Love the community here and love being part of the town.
We teamed up with Rural Health Tasmania to find out how drugs are affecting our community.
Someone's gotta tell you, man, being a cock stop, get the punch up, smoking the rock. Your body can't operate around the clock, my friend. You won't make no go.
Just like any rural area, we have our problems.
Rural health workers are sounding the alarm about the impact of the drug crystal meth or ice on country towns. One small Tasmanian town, it's estimated that up to 10% of the population is using ice.
You know, in drugs I've found a way of being able to get out of my own head. And obviously as my using progressed and new drugs come on the scene, ice again did that. And, you know, it's no secret how highly addictive it is, and it definitely was a survival mechanism for me. Little did I know the impacts that it would have on my life in the latter years.
Oh, well, there's 2 trains at the station. Which one will you choose? Don't have to make a reservation. Which one will you choose? 2 trains at the station. You gotta choose. I said which one? Which one will you choose?
So my name's Zach Morgan. I'm a paramedic in Hobart, Tasmania. I've been a paramedic for about 8 years, working mostly out of Hobart, but I spent some time back in the northwest coast. Drug use, it puts a lot of strain on the health system, on society on a whole, and I think that if it continues to increase and continues to disrupt society, it's a bad future that we're looking at. I'd like to think that we can somehow get through this. Treat the people that need to be treated, to divert them away from drugs.
I'm confident this community will come through this. A lot of other rural communities, they feel isolated at times, but it is a strong community. As you can see by having meetings like this tonight, people are concerned and concerned about it and doing something about it.
And some of you in this room here tonight will know where those drugs may be coming from. Some of you will have that knowledge and not have shared it with us. This is your community.
It's obviously highly addictive because people are just going back for more. The science is there. It just they've proven now that it robs you of your capacity to produce dopamine and things like that. So once you're hooked, nothing feels good anymore.
We caught up with Talisa and Jazz from the Red Cross Save a Mate to find out what ice really does to the brain.
Methamphetamine or crystal meth is classed as a stimulant on our central nervous system. Some of the symptoms are increased blood pressure, heart rate, breathing. Some of the signs that we may see are big pupils, sweating, jawing and maybe scratching.
That's our body, but what does it do to our brain?
The drug accelerates your body's dopamine levels.
Dopamines?
Dopamines are the feel-good chemical that your body produces when you experience something that is amazing.
When you take the hit of meth, your dopamine levels spike to much higher than what they usually would naturally. But over time, it can cause your body to not produce them as they would before.
Meaning that everyday things that used to make you feel great no longer make you feel anything at all. Chronic abuse can lead to paranoia, anxiety, insomnia, depression, the infamous meth mouth, and unfortunately sometimes death.
I had a dream as a young girl to be able to run in the Olympics, and by the time I was 14 years old I was chosen to race in the state team competing in Singapore, and at 15 in the state team competing in Malaysia. I was a 4, 8 and 1500 metre runner, and I was a very disciplined person, and I was a very high achiever. I made a decision at 15 to have a year off my sport, and that was about to be the decision that was going to change my life forever. Giving up my sport, I started to lose contact with my sporting friends, I started to lose my discipline, I started to lose my focus, and I had an overwhelming need to want to fit in with my friends at school.
I was introduced to drugs at 17 at a party by friends that I wouldn't normally hang out with. I just met them, I thought they were pretty cool, I thought I finally fit in somewhere, but little did I know it was probably one of the biggest mistakes I would make in my whole life.
I was lured into the drug scene after going to a rave party where I was introduced to LSD, which led to ecstasy, and then by the time I was 15 years old I had my first injection of speed. By the time I was 18 I was using heroin, and I was in the fight for my life.
I tried ice at 17, and from that first moment I was addicted. Before I knew it, my life was torn apart, and every single day revolved around getting that drug.
My parents did everything they could to try and get me away and try to get me out of that scene, but all it did was pull them into it, and it destroyed their life as well.
I didn't know if I was ever going to find myself again, and my family didn't know if they were going to get their baby girl or their sister back. The addiction and ice, it took everything from us.
These are the things that we don't realise as addicts when we're in active addiction, the ripple effect that our using has on the people around us. You know, I put my mum and my sister through absolute torture for many years. Probably the greatest gift that I've received in recovery is starting to rebuild those relationships with my mum and my sister. It's going to take a lot of time. All I can do is tack it a day at a time, and by staying clean one day at a time, I'm starting to build those relationships up.
We decided to hit the streets to see what people in our town were willing to share.
Not afraid to ask the tough questions. Welcome to On the Spot with Hunter Grant. We are here in our local community to ask people whether they or anyone they know have been affected by drugs or alcohol. I'm Hunter Grant from On the Spot with Hunter Grant.
I'm Kelly Lockett.
Okay, what do you love about this community?
I love the community spirit that it has. Everybody seems to get involved and know everybody. And yeah, it's just a great community to be a part of.
What do you love about the community?
I am very passionate about the Circular Head community for the way that people always rally around in time of need.
Well, we're a mixed community, and no matter what, we often growl about, a sticky beak here or there, or they know our business, but forget about that. If anything happens, everyone throws in their hand to help. And it's a very caring community.
Welcome to On the Spot with Hunter Grant. You are?
Andrew McMaster.
Good to meet you, Andrew. What do you love about this community?
Mainly the weather, the people. Quiet.
Everyone knows everyone. We all watch each other's back, and it's just a good place to grow up in.
I particularly love that we have some very youthful, passionate, amazing young people that will get out into our community and to do inspiring things like raise awareness.
Do you have any friends or family that have been affected by drugs or alcohol?
No, I don't.
No, thank goodness. I've been very fortunate, but I know there is a lot around town, yes, which is very sad.
I do not, as far as I know, but of course it might be hidden from me, so...
I know of a lot of people who have sort of slipped down that path of getting addicted to those sorts of things, so yeah, it's definitely affected me fairly closely.
Do you have any friends or loved ones that have been affected by drugs or alcohol?
Sure have, yep.
No.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
No, not personally, but I do know of families that have been affected.
Yes, I do have people in my life that have been affected by drugs and alcohol. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, I have some friends that have been affected by drugs particularly.
Okay, another one. Mustn't forget, burger rings or cheesels?
Cheezels, because burger rings get stuck in your teeth.
Cheezels.
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 Good lad. Thank you for your time.
Neither.
Neither. Well, thanks for your time. Burger rings or cheesels?
Gotta say, I'm a Cheezels fan.
I don't worry about either, but I'll say burgers.
Do you prefer burger rings or cheesels?
I'd rather chicken chips.
Chicken chips? Thank you for your time then.
Life's a struggle, life can bring you down. Gotta stay put, can't go from town to town. Gotta be responsible, gotta do the right thing. You know I'm really pissed off with my situation.
I suffer from a mental illness. The doctors tell me it's not caused by cannabis. It's not caused by alcohol, so I imagine I've had it all along. But I'm sure the marijuana and the alcohol didn't help. It never helps if you're slightly mentally unbalanced. And when stress hits, you take to your crutches a bit more, and it's a never-ending spiral. And I got pretty bad. Mentally, I got very bad.
10 years ago, he suffered from, I suppose, a build-up of that, causing him and his family and the whole extended family a lot of worry, a lot of angst, and a lot of concern for him. Jim had a number of visits to the Spencer ward on the northwest coast. He then moved down the east coast for a while, then moved down south, and he was very lucky, and so as we were, he's still here with us, but very lucky in so many ways. His mental health deteriorated. I suppose we become more interested then, and that's a terrible thing to actually get to that stage before you start to see that there is a problem, when there's a problem staring you in the face. It's so easy to just go along with the flow. Where can you go with that? I suppose it's easy to look back and say we should have done this, should have done that, but when it comes down to it, Tim didn't start to improve or get himself into a reasonable space till he hit rock bottom, and then accepted that he'd had a problem. It wasn't until that acceptance came around that there was a willingness to do anything about it. He's come out the other side, stopped smoking all sorts, and he's playing his music again. He's gone back to school. He's doing little community things like Meals on Wheels, just stuff to build some self-esteem again, which is the most important thing.
My marriage had broken up, and I know a lot of that was caused by my addiction. I'd moved out of Burnie and I'd gone to the East Coast, and I was I smoked so much for so long, I wasn't doing to me what it used to, it was just a habit. And I'd made a trip down to see my nephew and godson Scott's 300th game with Smithton, the football. And I just decided on the way home that, I've had enough. I had my last joint at 11 o'clock on the 9th of August last year, and I thought, I don't want any more. I really didn't want to die being an addict, and I had a lot of thoughts of that around that time too, and I didn't want the kids to know that, gee, Dad was so off his head he died, and I just had really played on my mind. So that was a big help in the decision making. That's my godson Scott. I was responsible for his moral upbringing. I came down to watch Scott in his 300th game with Smithton, and that was the time I made the decision to give up the drugs. So it was a pretty auspicious moment in my life. Thanks, Scott.
I'm Jackie Lambie and I'm a Senator for Tasmania. I guess I become more aware of drugs, especially ice themselves, when my youngest son actually got involved with ice probably 3 or 4 years ago, and just the build up and the momentum of that and what that has done to his life over the last 3 or 4 years. An opportunity come up in the Senate for me to maybe say a few words on my son. And I still didn't even know 5 minutes before I started that speech whether or not I was going to mention anything about what my son was going through. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to see what my gut feeling is like as I get closer to where I can actually speak. For whatever reason, during that few minute period, you know, it come to that point where I just said, you know, I just took a big deep breath and I said, okay, this is it. And yet even with my title, I have no control over my son. I can't involuntarily detox my own son. And even now, I'm still powerless. I've had to put it into somebody else's hands and trust and hope that they're going to be able to help my son. So I think that's why I'm calling for to give the parents the right to have the power to involuntarily detox their kids 17 years and under. So these guys that are having drug and alcohol or ice issues at 12, 13 or 14, we can get them early intervention and get them the help that they need and hopefully knock it on the head. Because the older they are and the longer that they are on this stuff, especially ice, the harder it is to break the habit.
Australia is currently the third largest consumer of methamphetamine in the world per population and the largest consumer of ecstasy in the world per population. So that's pretty concerning. We're now using more methamphetamine than the USA. It actually affects everyone in our society. It affects the individual user, it also affects their family, their children if they have any. It also affects the community that they live in. And obviously it affects the nation because of the burden of health that it places on the economy. Substance abuse was costing around $56 billion every 24 months.
What can you tell us about the incident on the night of the CHFA Grand Final last year?
5 people were hospitalised after having really severe reactions to using drugs, and we believe they were MDMA or ecstasy tablets. They sort of presented with dilated pupils, violent vomiting, unconsciousness, and 5 people were detained in hospital with really severe reactions, and there were some really severe concerns for their safety, whether they'd actually survive. Look, there's a whole range of chemicals that people use. I know people using rat bait or chemicals like detergents, cleaning products or stripping metals and things like that. You don't know what you're getting. That's the thing with all these made substances. They're not made in laboratories. They're not sterile conditions, and you really don't know what you're putting in your mouth or in your veins.
Our young people of today are the next future leaders for our community, and if we don't have leaders in our community is going to not be the place that we want it to be. So as council and as a councillors, we're really keen for early intervention with drugs and just to stop people from being involved.
I think most people seem to realise that there is a drug problem here, but I think there are different levels as to what people acknowledge that it's at. Some people think that it's probably mostly in different socio-economic areas. Other people think that it's probably just the young people that are involved, but really it's across the board and it's affecting everyone, and it is really probably, I think personally, one of the number one issues that we've got here in Circular Head, health-wise.
About teaching and helping children to understand and how to use those social and emotional skills in their day-to-day life. So if we can implement that as part of the curriculum right throughout primary school, kids are a lot better equipped and they have a lot more what we call protective factors. So when they are faced with risks, if somebody offers them drugs or they've got, or if they know that there are drugs available, they're less likely to use them. And the reason for that is young people that have got really good social and emotional skills are generally happier. People that are happier aren't looking externally for something else to make them happy because they already feel happy because they've got good social and emotional skills.
When you have a really strong focus on something that you want to achieve, you start making choices that are right as opposed to the wrong choices. I mean, we all want to fit in, we all want to belong, we all want to feel like we belong to a tribe or a community, and I think drugs are a really bad choice because they wipe you out from communities and they destroy your friendships and they can actually break up families. So I found that the one community I belonged to was the ocean and the surfing community, and I did everything I could to prolong my relationship with that environment. And also surfing is such a healthy, active lifestyle. That's what kept me off drugs as well, because surfing is something that requires mental faculty and physical faculty, and it's a real socially rewarding sport as well. So find something that you love doing, and that way you'll stop making poor decisions and stop being distracted by things that will prevent you from doing things that you really love.
We've got the footy clubs and local youth leaders doing Save a Mate training with Red Cross.
Spend a bit of time, extra time with someone you know that might be battling, and just try and keep an eye on them and make sure there's things to do around your friends if you know anyone that's struggling, and just offering a hand and not just sort of being scared. Some people get a bit scared by the idea of someone having a drug addiction and may not think to go around to their house or talk to them or spend time with them, and that's the time when people need other people the most.
Further my studies and just keep furthering my knowledge, because this is an area now that I see myself working in for the rest of my life. And I get that natural high by helping people that were in my situation.
Thank you very much.
Now you're lying and it's such a waste of life. I had to tell you before you fall on your keep wanting more, my friend. You won't make a